Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bitesize Cinema. I'm your host RJ McCready, and for this episode I'm going to be taking you guys back to the year in 1987 to look at the horror movie The Gate. But on this episode I've got a very special guest. I've got Gary Hill from Cinema Beef Podcast and 2 Drink Minimum. He's here helping me with this episode today. Gary, how are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm fine. It got a little warm here. It's June now, so yay! Sweating through my clothes. Beautiful thing. Yeah.
Lovely, Gary. Now, Gary, I know you've been on Dude Looks Like the 80s show with me before. We've covered some pretty cool movies on there, including Howard the Duck.
Oh, yeah.
But do you just want to tell me a little bit about your show, your podcasting, Cinema Beef and that?
Oh, yeah. That's been going for about 7 years now with varying different co-hosts and varying different formats. We do any just like your show. We do any kind of genre that you could think of. So, and we've been pairing them up with different ways, different sometimes more ironically than other times. I don't like to be so obvious about it, and I like to make you think about it, kind of like one of those G.I. Joe PSAs. And now and that's it's good stuff. And 2 Drink Minimum Commentaries is a commentary show, because commentary shows are shows that you make when you can't, don't feel like podcasts. You just feel like talking through a movie, and that's the lazy man's game. I don't want to call it that, but sometimes you just want to turn your brain off and watch a movie with some friends and make dick and fart jokes. It's fun.
That's what it's all
whatever.
About, man. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, Gary. You just got to make it work for you, don't you? Sort of. I tend to make it up on my show as well, a little bit. Certainly with the choice of movies, I don't really have a list. I just sort of pick a film and talk about it. So
I love it, man. It's good winging right there, man. I think the one you put out today was Man with the Golden Gun. I think it was.
Yeah.
We're doing this today, which is totally different from that.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, with the Man with the Golden Gun, I just picked one out of the bunch of many James Bond movies there. So, I thought I'd pick the one with Count Dracula in it. He's pretty badass, Christopher Lee. So.
Oh yeah.
But we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about The Gate from 1987. So we'll take you guys back to that year. Let's go into the backyard. Let's see what's going on there, and we will play you a trailer. We'll see you guys soon.
There is a passageway to the most evil place you can imagine. A gate, behind which the demons wait to take back what was once theirs. And now, someone has opened the gate.
There's this weird tearing sound there. The decomposed corpse of her dead father.
Oh no.
He's tearing out hair by the hands.
I'm calling the police.
You got demons.
I mean, you guys are serious about that demon stuff? Demons? What kind?
You've been They have opened the gate. Pray it's not too late.
And welcome back, guys. So the synopsis of this film is: kids left home alone accidentally unleash a horde of demons from a mysterious hole in their suburban backyard. It's a PG-13, it's got an 85-minute runtime, and it's got 6.1 on IMDb. And the cast for this movie is a very young Stephen Dorff. It's one of his first movies. Christina Denton as Al. Louis Tripp as Terence, and Kelly Rowland as Laurie, just to name just a few. And pretty much an unknown cast, but Stephen Dorff may be familiar with. He's in films such as Blade. A film you might be familiar with here, Gary's Space Truckers.
Space Truckers, yeah, it's a good time, man. He's in lots of stuff I love, though. Not just well, one that I love that he's in is called Cecil B. Demented, which is a John Waters movie, which is like the biggest anti-movie that there is, because it's about a guerrilla filmmaker who basically wants to fuck over the movie industry by making a bad movie and destroying it from the inside. And it's John Waters all over the place, and he plays Cecil, who's the insane director, and with his insane crew, and it's a good time. But I love Stephen Dorff and a lot of stuff, and he is the only good Blade villain that there is, in my opinion. Just he has the most fun with it.
I think so. Yeah, it does. He brings a lot of menace to that film, doesn't he? For me, it's one of the films he's most famous for. He was also in another movie called Judgment Night.
Yes, that's a great one. That'd be a good one for this show, actually.
Yeah, it would be, actually. Yeah, I quite like that. It's sort of in the same sort of category as Trespass, that film that I covered on the show not long ago.
Delightful.
And you also got one of my favourite characters in this film, which is Terrence, played by Louis Tripp. I don't think he's done much else, has he? But he's pretty cool in this movie.
He's done this in the sequel and not much else. And I don't know if that was a personal choice, but I like him. I like him in this and the sequel.
Yeah. The sequel's not too bad either, is it? Really? It's And the film was directed by Tibor Takas. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a Hungarian director, and it was funded by it's a Canadian-backed film, and it's quite low budget. It's made for $2.5 million. And the director, he went on to go and make some interesting movies. Mosquito Man.
Oh yeah.
Ice Spiders. Mega Snake. Spiders 3D. I mean, these are these are top shelf.
Spiders 3D is actually very fun. I've watched that movie before.
I've never seen it.
It's definitely the Sci-Fi Channel vein, but it's tons of fun. I have a good time with it.
It sounds like a lot of fun. And then going back to the film, I mean, it's a low-budget movie, but I had someone on the page, one of my listeners, I'll give him a quick shout-out, actually. Matthew Quinto, one of my listeners, he said that don't forget to shout this film out as the little film that could. Apparently that's what it was nicknamed. And you probably know this, Gary. It's the film that blew off a mega-budget, overblown ego movie called Ishtar, with Dustin Hoffman and Warren Beatty, apparently.
I've seen Ishtar for sure, man.
Yeah, apparently this film, The Gate, did better than Ishtar did at the box office, and Ishtar was made for something like $50 million or something like that. So,
as much as I love the film, I kind of feel sad for Ishtar. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've never seen it, Gary. Yes. I've never even heard of it.
It's a desert musical. I think there's music in there. I forget now. You ask about that? Ricky Morgan probably tell you all about that movie for sure.
Trust Rick. I didn't think he liked musicals, Rick.
Rick likes all kinds of stuff. He's crazy, man.
Now, when you say that's a Ricky Morgan movie, is it a short bus cinema movie?
It's a candidate. It definitely is.
It is. Oh, okay.
It's got a big cast, but it's definitely a candidate for short bus cinema.
And I've got another bit of trivia here. One of the Alex Winter wanted to remake this film. The dude from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
It was in development for a long time. I'm not sure if it still is or not. He wanted to do it in 3D, I guess.
You got it, yeah, that's right. He wanted to make it as a 3D movie, and I think it was in development around about 2016, but we haven't heard anything more of it. So, and apparently the logo on the back of Terry's back is the Killer Dwarfs, like a sort of real heavy metal band from Canada or something.
Oh, my cousin had records for sure. Killer Dwarfs album, so I know they're legit. I'm not saying they're the best band ever, but he definitely had a couple of their records.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So Gary, when do you remember watching this film? Then what do you like about this movie?
Well, we all had that uncle, right, that had that collection of VHS tapes that you probably weren't supposed to watch, and my uncle had that collection of VHS tapes that had like 3 movies on them each.
Yeah.
And this was one of those movies that was on like that tape with Revenge of the Nerds and Porky's or something. It was just randomly on there. And when I was a kid, I was afraid to go in the video store because I was a little bitch about things. And so this is like the first horror film I ever saw. So I was like, even then I liked like animation stuff. And when you find out how amazing this movie was, you know, with the budget they have, I'm sure we'll talk all about this, but I like guys in suits. And this doesn't change that because they have guys in suits in this movie, and we'll explain how that works pretty soon. But it's just a fun movie. I hate to call it a safe movie, but you can show this to you like your 11, 12-year-old child, and they'll get some genuine fright out of it, but at the same time, it won't warp their brains. It's a great gateway film for a horror genre beginner. So, yeah. And this what started me off. This first horror film I ever saw, so that makes it special, I think.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, no pun there, it's a good gateway into horror, isn't it, for, like you say, a 12-year-old, isn't it, really? Which I think is what this is directed towards. It's a PG-13 movie, but you get a lot for your PG-13 horror movie here, don't you? You get some really good scares, especially when the parents come back and they say, "You've been bad," isn't it? And his face disintegrates. But, again, like you say, it's not horror that's going to really damage you, is it? It's just... it kind of remind me a little bit of Goosebumps now. Do you know what I mean? There's a sort of Goosebumps the movie type.
No, I understand that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I watched it with my daughter. She's a little bit older. She's 14, 15, and she loved it. She thought it was incredibly funny in places. Funny enough, how the times.
Oh, it is. It definitely is.
Because when I watched it when I was 12, I was actually quite scared of this movie, you know, with the demons that turned up, and I never actually knew they were guys in suits. I thought it was all stop motion animation. It's a really good effect that holds up today as well, I think.
I'm pretty sure the big guy in the end is mostly stop motion because it shows, like, you see some really janky computer generated effects, especially when he grabs Glenn and swings him in the air. Yeah. You can see that it's actually, you know, stop motion. But the stuff with the little demons, they did it all through like forced perspective. It's just all guys in suits that I imagine they filmed first and then filmed the other stuff later because it looks great for the budget they have. Even today, I mean, they have a best on Blu-ray out there, which I want to watch it with the commentary, but my Blu-ray player broke. But right. It's stacked with extras, so I think they have a UK version of it too. So
yeah, they did. Yeah, that came out. Because for a long time,
recommended people if you like this movie.
Yeah, for a long time you couldn't get hold of this in the UK, and they finally released it on DVD, and then they released it on Blu-ray, which I think was is it Shout Factory or Arrow?
Oh, it's a Vestron release.
Vestron, all right.
Yeah, which they released. They released the UK version of it. I know it came out in the States first, then later in the UK.
But yeah, those demon guys are just still the show for me. Do you know what I mean? They're the highlight of the movie. You know, when they turn up, and like you say, they still hold up today. You know, I watched it the other day and I thought it was incredible. And also like the way the movie runs at a pace. There's not one point where I feel like it slows down. It just goes nice. You know, you get the build up of the characters. You've got Terry, as I said before, he's an interesting character. he kind of reminds me of one of the guys on our Legion network. You heard of Matthew Tangent?
Oh yeah.
This is how I imagined Matthew Tangent to be as a kid. You know what I mean? A little shout out to Matt.
People, man, they be talking about like how banging the Ragman's clothes are in Trick or Treat, but let me tell you, Terry's collection of jackets knows no bounds, man. No. He's got that full metal patch on the back of that jean vest, and he's got the leather jacket you see in the beginning, man. This kid's going places, man.
Yeah. he almost, or pretty much, steals the show for me as a character. Do you know what I mean? You obviously.
But the thing is, in 1987, you got to pick one decorative piece for your jean jacket vest. Don't pick the Killer Dwarfs, man. You got to pick some other people. It's just like, here you go, bam, promotion for this. I think they're Canadian too, so
They
Canadian band.
Yeah, they're Canadian.
Canadian metal. Yeah.
So yeah, it's got some really good stuff in it, and as I said before, for the budget of this movie, it's a lot of movie for your money, I think. And the artwork for the front cover for the poster is just awesome. You know, every time I post it on the Facebook page, it gets a lot of response, and I think it's just because of that promotional pitch.
It's pretty iconic. You know, you've seen it on a shelf at the video store back in the day. You'd want to rent it because you get the glowing eyes with the claws coming out of the ground, and the gate right there. You want to rent that.
I mean, that just takes you to another place, doesn't it? Looking at that poster, which is the magic of. Oh, I think I say this in pretty much every one of my shows. I always end up down the old VHS rental store, but it's a magical place back in the day for me, where you saw these posters and it just took you to another place before you even watched the film. It's just good times, man, good times.
Well, one of the points of the great VHS boom is sometimes, they made the poster first and they wrote a movie around it. I know that was done with like TerraVision, which is a favorite of mine, and they made the TerraVision poster. Then somebody write me a script, and I'd like yes, and I'm in love forever with the movie. So it's good stuff.
Well, Gary, that's pretty much a description of Canon Films, isn't it? I think. I think the Golden Globus guys, I think they made the front covers to movies and then sold them to studios, and then they come away and said, "I suppose we better put a script together for that."
Man, Manaham must have drank a lot of coffee back in the day. He's just down to that shit all day long. Or a lot of speed, perhaps.
Oh, man. Yeah, some wild days in the 80s, filmmaking. Oh, man. So, yeah, like I say, the building block for this film is great, man. It just goes to show that you don't always need a big budget to make a good film. Okay, so let's have a look at this film then. And before I start the review, the bite-sized review of this movie, just a shout out to one of my listeners, Dan Nichols. He actually requested this film today. He put it on the page, and so it's actually a listener request.
Good job, Dan. I'm not even saying that ironically, brother. I love this movie. You'll find out pretty soon.
I was going to say, Dan putting this on the page, it just set things off. Now I've got you, Gary, on the show as well, so it's all good stuff, man. So the film starts off with you got 12-year-old Glenn, and he has a nightmare, and he wakes up in the night, and it's proper 80s. He's got his 80s bedroom, and he's walking around the house, and it's abandoned. And then you get a scene where he goes to his tree house and he gets struck by lightning, and then it collapses, and then he wakes up in the morning, and then you got the sound of like chainsaws, and the tree outside has collapsed. And this is where you get the, I guess you get the start of the main movie here, isn't it? The plot where the hole has appeared in the garden.
Yeah, you get this weird, like, for some reason, it comes back to haunt him later. He has premonitions somehow, and they're never really explained why he has premonitions, but here we are,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, is that? I think you get the moths turning up as well now. I think, don't you? There's
they come out of the ground.
Yeah. So he, then you're introduced to Terry, his friend Terry, which we've already mentioned. He's into his metal. He's a pretty cool kid, and they go investigate the hole. And this is where they find a large geode, which is pretty cool. And they take it back to the bedroom, and then I think Terry tries to open it up, and he's hitting it with a hammer. And
they learn nothing. They learn nothing from poor Jordy Verrill. Okay, come on now.
Well, that's what we said. That's what I think I said to Dan Bone in the last episode. If you find something strange, don't report it to the authorities. That's it. You take that geode in, you start messing about with it.
Meteor shit. Come on, man.
Yeah. A bit like the blob and the stuff, isn't it? At the same time.
No, yeah.
But before he retrieves that geode, he cuts his finger, doesn't he? And then a little bit of blood goes into the hole, doesn't it, Gary? So it's a little bit of a thing to start other things happening.
I never caught that right away, that the blood has something to do with the opening the what opens up, and it's really strange, and more blood later too, for sure.
Yeah, so you've got all these, I suppose, sacrificial things, haven't you? Going, the blood. So then you get the parents. They're going away for the weekend, and he's left with his sister Al, who says that she'll look after her younger brother. Won't be a problem. And then you get an 80s party, Gary, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's pretty rad.
Yes, it is. 80s and very Canadian. You could tell, especially her friends who show up. Her two lady friends, the Lee sisters, appropriately. Which, Terry sticks his finger in his throat, as in they're probably the ugly sisters, but their last names are Lee, and you could tell they just shot out of Canadian TV and into this movie. It's kind of wonderful. And
yeah, they got.
And Al, I gotta say, Al, was one of my first crushes ever, because there's something about a girl with crimped hair that does it for me. If she had a side pony, she'd be Mrs. Gary Hill right now. See.
Oh man, yeah, she's got crimped hair, she's got coloured hair as well, isn't she? It's just everything in the 80s is all in this room here as well, isn't it? And so yeah, you got the cool 80s party there, and then you get a scene where one of the guys decides to do like this levitation act, isn't it? They say, do you believe in levitation? And this is where Glenn comes in. He becomes part of this act. They do this ritual. And then this is where Glenn levitates up into the air, then he falls down.
Yeah. And he cries. Glenn cries a lot in this movie, I gotta say. For being the hero, he cries a lot in this movie.
I want to call Mum and Dad now.
Oh, yeah. He says it like 6 times. Yeah. Just want to call Mom and Dad.
Oh, you're such a crybaby.
I wish the babysitter was here. He's such a whiner to be the hero of this movie, I gotta say. Continue, though. I'm sorry.
No, man, no. I was going to say, it's just where Terry steps in, then he just steps up and says, "No, it's okay, man." I think he tells him some of the once happened to him at school just to try and make him feel better. And then at this point, this is where Glenn starts to see the bedroom wall stretch a little bit as well. And I think you get the story about the guy that built the house who died, and they just decided to cement him into the wall. We won't give him a burial, we'll just put him in the wall and bury him.
Well, that's a classic American thing to do. You build a bridge, the guy falls in the bridge, you pour the foundation over him. That's how you cover from murder in early Americas. This is a very true thing. Look it up though one time. It's really weird, but there you go.
Yeah, I've heard about these stories. I think the stories with the railroads and all those sort of things, isn't it? So then you get to make Glenn feel better, Al says, "Look, I'll let Terry stay over for the night." And he says, "Yeah, okay, that's fine." So then you get a nighttime scene here where Terry wakes up in the middle of the night, and you get like an apparition of his mother who's passed away, and she comes back, and it's sort of saying, "Oh, Terry, Terry," and he walks down the stairs, and he goes to hug his mum, and then it just changes, isn't it? It's almost like your first sort of jump scare here, where it's actually the dog. Poor old Angus, the dog, has died, and then Terry's got him wrapped up in his arms, isn't he?
He spikes that dog, and I don't know what to think. I watched it today, and I just know it's you think he just drop it, but he spikes it like it's American football or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Boom.
So yeah, you got the dog that's died, but Al still doesn't want to phone the parents, does she? You think maybe with this, you want to phone your mum and dad, let them know, but she says no. So the next day you've got Terry, and he's in his bedroom, isn't he? Like you said earlier, Gary. He's a pretty cool dude. He's got his metal posters up in the wall, and he's banging to a bit of the metal music, isn't he? And he's sort of reciting all the lyrics. And he's almost going into like a sort of I thought this was like H.P. Lovecraft in a way, where the metal band are talking about the old gods trying to get back into Earth, which once lost them. And I don't know, have you seen Colour Out of Space yet? Just on a little bit of a tangent.
Not yet. I've seen the other adaptation of that story, which is The Curse, which is another 80s movie with Will Wheaton in it. And
oh really?
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it's an adaptation of the same story, but it's a whole way different tone. But I haven't seen the Nicolas Cage insanity that is Colour Out of Space yet.
Well, you just hit a target there, Gary. It's the first time I mentioned Will Wheaton on Bitesize Cinema.
Hey!
Boom!
Gary's a mark.
Gonna get a cloud of gold dust booming down now. Yes, we've just mentioned Will Wheaton. Oh man. So so Colour Out of Space, Gary. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but after recently watching The Gate, I thought there was a sort of comparison between the two, shall we say, and certainly a H.P. Lovecraft vibe, where, like say, Terry's talking about the old gods and wanting to come back and all that sort of stuff. So.
Well, when Glenn puts 2 and 2 together, that I'm sure we're gonna. It belongs to the same record album he's listening to, and the stories in there is supposedly text from this book that talks a lot about old gods and stuff. And so, for you hang on as many Lovecraft people as I do, which is aplenty, that's all you think about when somebody says old gods. You start to think about Lovecraft. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh yeah.
There you go. I always get a John Carpenter quote in my show. Just a little shout out there for him. So then at this point, this is where Terry is starting to think that all these things that are happening are in these lyrics. You've got a gate that's opened up in the garden, and so he begins to suspect that, and they start investigating. So they go back out to the garden now. Hang on a second. Oh no, this is where you've now got one of Al's friends. He tries to deposit the dog, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. He takes it to the animal hospital, which is closed. So he just goes back to the house and throws him down the hole, which is like, okay, they'll never notice this smell at all. This dead dog down the hole in the summertime. It's kind of dumb.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because this is where Terry basically says to Glenn, he says, look, you've got a demon problem, you've got the old gods wanting to come back, all the things are in place with the levitation, the blood oath and all that, but he says it's okay just as long as nobody deposits the body down there. He said it doesn't have to be human, it could be anything. So the dog has just been put down, and that's pretty much the last key, isn't it, to open up the gate, and that's it. Boom.
I forgot to mention one of my favorite tropes. It happens in this movie is there's a scene in this movie where I remember this toy back in the day. It was like the lamest toy you could get from a grocery store, where it was like a magnetic thing with a plastic sheet on top of it, where you could write on it and then lift up the plastic sheet and it would go away.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We called that.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, we called it an etch-a-sketch or something like that.
But they put that geode on top of it, and of course it has like incantation words that Glenn stupidly reads that opens this gate to hell. That's amazing. I love it so much. So
you've pretty much got an Ash Williams moment, haven't you, in this film? It's the Necronomicon, isn't it?
This is Klaatu Barada Nikto, yes indeed.
It is, man. It's just all these Easter eggs from other films, man, put into a kid's movie. So I suppose you've really got an Evil Dead movie, haven't you, for kids, really, in a way.
Oh yeah, you even got little people in the Army of Darkness, so you're all good. Little ashes running around.
Yeah, I guess so. That's it, man.
But that was more Gulliver's Travels, though. So bless you, Sam Raimi, for doing that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I never really thought of it like that actually until you mentioned that. Now there you go. I love it. So that night you get that swarm of moths from the beginning, and they shatter the glass in the bedroom window. And this is where you find the corpse of the dog in Terry's bed. So this starts to hit the fan here a little bit, doesn't it, really? It's just, things start to go wrong now. And Terry and Glenn, they're scared of the dog, they're screaming. And then this is where Al comes into the bedroom and she's going, what's going on? And this is where you get those arms, isn't it? Those gooey, demonic arms from under the bed.
Yes.
It's a pretty cool scene, isn't it? So.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty good effect. It still stands up now, and I suppose it's that thing as a kid that you worry about, isn't it? The monster under the bed. So that's a good.
Yeah, and it plays a lot in this movie because we'll get into a scene later on where it was something somebody said in passing that wasn't necessarily true that pops up to scare them, like almost like the old gods were listening in a way, Yeah.
So it's all the things that you're scared of as a kid starts to happen in this movie, doesn't it? So then Glenn, he's scared, he runs out of the bedroom, he goes to the front door, and then he got his mum and dad that have turned up. But it's not his mum and dad, is it? He sort of goes up to his dad, and his dad goes, "Oh, you're right, Glenn." He goes, "No, you know." And then he grabs his dad, and his dad goes, "You've been bad," isn't it? It's just
I can't tell you, myself included, how many times, even when times if I'm like watching by myself and I'm like feeling like I don't even know, like a little off.
Yeah.
Hearing that line delivery still freaks me out just a little bit, man.
Yeah, oh yeah, man, it's a pinnacle part of the movie now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And then you get a really horrid scene now, don't you? Because you almost get like a poltergeist scene here, don't you? With the face deteriorating, isn't it? He grabs his dad's face and it's all gooey.
Because Glenn's already a wuss, and then, you know, his dad, oh my good, mom and dad are home, just what I wished for. Then, you know, dad's face just melts, you know.
But then the parents vanish, didn't they? The door closes, they open the door back up, everything's gone back to normal. But the only person who's not really fazed by this, I thought, was Terry. He's kind of gone, "Oh man, that's pretty weird, but I'm just going to go and get a soda pop from the fridge now, you know. Can we go to bed?" You know, it's like... So, yeah, he's just such a cool dude in this, man. So, they go back into the house. I think Al's got a couple of friends staying over as well, those two girls you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah, them Leicesters.
Yeah, that's it. And then this is where you get the demons that turn up, isn't it? They turn up in the house. They're already in the house by this point, aren't they? You can see like a sort of silhouette. They appear on the windows, don't they? And
oh, that's a good little siege moment.
yeah, it's a good siege. So you've got the siege of the demons now. And then Terry kind of takes control a bit here. He leads everybody into the basement to try and find the dark book. He thinks that if he reads from the book, he'll be able to stop all this. But then the dark book bursts into flames. And then this is where Glenn comes out and goes, "You got a Bible? You know, read from the Bible, man. That's going to sort everything out."
And there's the line where Terry says, "These guys are older than the Bible," you know, so
yeah,
the Bible's not going to do any good, you know.
Yeah, he knows he's, doesn't he, really, Terry? He really is educated in this department, isn't he, of the old gods and, like, say, the H.P. Lovecraft stuff.
Them resourceful metal kids, they know that their demonology.
Oh man,
and
yeah.
Terry's no exception.
He's your go-to guy in all this. So they go back out into the garden, go to the hole. It's pretty good. The hole has now got this it's got smoke coming out of it. It's got like a purple and green haze to it coming out. So it's a pretty cool scene. Terry starts reading from the Bible. Things start to happen, but then he falls down into the hole, doesn't he? And then he gets down to the bottom of it, and then there's the demons that start attacking him. They start biting into his arm, and
that's a good gag for sure.
Yeah,
just the look at his face when they start grabbing on him was pretty priceless.
That's really cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's a proper sort of like that. It's almost like a sort of, like, say, Ash Williams moment, isn't it? You know,
when they finally get out of the holes, his biggest problem is that they took his shoe, which comes into play at the end of the movie, you know. Oh,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. He's Nike trainers, isn't he? He's Nike high tops. Pretty cool.
Oh yeah, those are some good looking shoes too.
Yeah,
for the
I like
80s.
those. Yeah, they're pretty cool, man.
So he's got it made, man. His dad's never home. He's got some nice shoes. He's got cool melodies to listen to. You know, he's he eats disgusting pizza off a counter. That kid's got it made, man. It's all good.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier. Actually, yeah, he gets home, then he's got an empty house. Gone away for the weekend, Terry. It's up, you know, left to you. Got your pizza. Yeah, he's got a pretty good deal, hasn't he? So he gets back out of the hole. He starts reading from the Bible and he starts reciting the Psalms, and then the hole starts to close up. And then they go back into the house. They think everything's sorted out, but no, it's not. We've got that construction worker. He's still hanging about in the wall, isn't he? You get a pretty cool scene here of him. I think he's now out of the wall now, isn't he? He's like a zombie.
Yeah, it goes to like that thing to where I mentioned before, you know, whatever they're afraid of happens. Well, Glenn was told the story by Terry, which Terry mentions when he comes out of the wall that it was total fabrication, and this thing appears out of the wall because Glenn is afraid of it.
Yeah,
there's lots of stuff is because Glenn is afraid of it, and then later on there's a thing with his hand when she had a premonition about it, just happens to appear, and then it goes away when he hurts himself, obviously. But still, yeah, this guy's not a thing. This guy's built out of fear, and I like that aspect of the story. Like the old gods are messing with him. It's good stuff.
You know what, Gary? I like that. You know what? That went over my head. But until you mention that now, so the old gods are working on your worst nightmare. So they kind of make your worst nightmare come true. Yeah, I like that. It's pretty cool. So they attack the construction worker with Al, and then Al goes completely the Lost Boys on them and gets the stereo, doesn't he? She
throws that little jam box at that dude's head, and he falls over, and magic happens. It's awesome, you know.
So that's it, guys. If you find a dead construction worker coming out your wall, make sure you got an old stereo, and you throw it at them, and it just makes them. Well, it's a good scene here, actually, isn't it?
He falls over and turns into little monsters.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious.
Great, isn't it? Yeah. Oh man, it's brilliant. And so then he disintegrates. Obviously, goes into the tiny demons, and then they find a gun. Don't they, like a shotgun or something like that in the basement?
Oh, yeah. Get Dad's gun, Glenn. Get Dad's gun. Yeah. Get Dad's gun.
And then at the same time, the construction worker is taking Terry as well, isn't he? He's taking him in with him, so he's been abducted. But then...
And then you get more laughs with Terry pretty soon. I love it.
Well, yeah, this is it.
The closet scene is amazing.
Glenn goes into the closet, doesn't he? And like you mentioned just there, Gary, he's rummaging through, and then you get Terry, didn't you? Like a possessed Terry.
He looks like a chipmunk version of Terry. He's got these giant buck teeth, and all of a sudden he starts to bite them. You know.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah,
he bites his hand, and I want to say that he becomes like infected or something, because something happens to his hand in the next couple scenes that it's not really explained, except the fact that he may have got some weird old god's infection or something. I don't even know.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Because then Glenn, he gets I think it's like a shoe, is it, or something like that, a high-heeled shoe, and he sort of stabs Terry in the eye with it.
No, she for some reason there's a Barbie doll, like a doll in the closet.
Ah, yeah.
And Al busts in and stabs him in the eyeball with the foot of the doll.
So you get a death by stereo, and you get a death by Barbie doll as well, didn't you, in this movie as well, which is pretty cool. So.
Well, they're more just like go away. They don't die. They just go away.
That's it. And then he goes, then he just disappears into the closet.
Again, real light stuff, and it's light stuff that I enjoy. Where you get foiled by a Barbie doll, that you just kind of go away. He just says, "Yeah, it's it's fun.
It's a fun scene." So then you got Terry and Al. They've now been abducted, so they've become like a sort of human sacrifice to the gate, which is like fully open now. And you kind of get like a symbol of love now, didn't you? That rocket that he finds. You've seen it throughout the whole movie, haven't you? I forgot to mention that earlier.
The Thunderbolt rocket. I mean, this is a hobby that lame kids have in the 80s, where they have rockets that they just set off. These are the same kids that have model train sets, and I'm sorry for you listeners that have model train sets, but model trains are only cool when you're 4 or fucking 72. When you have nothing else to do with your time, you know. But like the two kids that I knew that had rocket hobbies had model trains as well. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm a nerd too. This is why we do what we do. But you know, there's nerddom, and then there's just lame, and those kids were lame. And Terry and his sister had this hobby of letting these rockets off to the point of he wasn't able to do them by himself because he burned a hole in the roof. I don't know what plastic rocket he had that would burn a hole in the roof, but he pulled it off apparently, and this Thunderbolt rocket, apparently this huge white rocket, was something that him and his sister were gonna blow off together, apparently, before she became like hip with the Lee sisters, I guess, because you know those girls are like the MVP of this movie. Now I watch it as an adult. The Lee sisters are like, they're out of control, man. They find them in the closet with their ropes of garlic around their neck. Who keeps ropes of garlic in their house? unless a vampire was coming or something. Who knows? But
Yeah, they were obviously going down that route, Gary, weren't they? They obviously saw some vampire movies and thought, I know what we need. We need some garlic. No, that's not going to do anything, is it? You know what I mean? It's just...
Those people make a lot of pasta. That's all I'm going to say about all that garlic around their neck, because it's crazy. The line they have when they get the Bible, he's like, give it to us. We went to Sunday school. Who says that? And what gives you the authority on the Bible if you went to Sunday school? I went to Sunday school, too. I don't know nothing about the Bible, so... Oh, there you go.
Oh, man. I can just hear James Woods now from Vampire saying, garlic won't work, man. They will bend you over. Oh, dear.
I want to watch that movie now, see. It's all good. I'm going to watch it after we're done talking here. Continue, I'm sorry.
No. So we've gone off on a bit of a rocket tangent, so there you go. So in this film, they're trying to make this kid look cool with a rocket and become a badass. So there you go.
It can only be defeated by a symbol of light and love, which is this rocket, apparently.
Well, this is it, yeah. And I only picked up on that on this viewing, actually. I didn't realise that at the time. So the rocket is a symbol. So you've got Glenn on his own with his rocket, with this massive demon that has just come out through the floor. And he's got like 2 heads, hasn't he, and loads of arms, and I think he picks Glenn up, like you said earlier, doesn't he? He starts toying with him a little bit.
Wagging him around and stuff. And,
Yeah,
the creature looks great. I gotta say, this is the stop-motion creature that we talked about. And he's got lots of arms, he does lots of movements, and he's just fun to look at, man. He's got a big old long snout mug, and, he could eat Glenn in about 5 seconds. But this is supposed to be registered to children, so he's like petting them on the head and stuff, and prolonging the inevitable, and
Yeah, they said, look, this is a PG-13. You can't go any higher than that. Just pick him up and pet him now.
It's like Glenn, we're cool. We're cool, monster. We're cool, okay?
That's it.
Just pet me on the head,
And this made me laugh, Gary, because the monster then disappears, doesn't he? He goes back into his hole. And it's like it gives Glenn enough time to find the batteries for his rocket so he can sort of ignite it. But then just as Glenn's put the batteries in, he's all set to go. It's almost as if he's just shouted out, hey, Mr. Monster, you can come back up now because I'm ready. And the monster just comes back up out of the ground. And
it's very convenient. He has no idea if it's going to work or not.
No.
He just goes for broke with this rocket to go on the thing's chest, perfectly shot into its chest. And
yeah. And
of course, the monster's angry at this point. He just picks up, mess with him some more, and like I said, picks him up and tosses him around, and yeah.
And then he sets off that rocket, doesn't he? And it goes through the monster's chest. I'm surprised.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised that plastic rocket actually did that. But it did. And then
it's a symbol, RJ. You gotta get disbelief going on here.
I've got to get. Yeah, this is the thing, Gary. This is the thing I try to get into my head. You know what I mean? I couldn't get that into my head at the time.
If you're gonna have something destroy your house, it might as well be an old god that can have a rocket go through his chest.
Yeah, that's
a flimsy plastic rocket that's supposed to be meant to fly straight up in the air. You see the one. If you don't know what we're talking about, you can see it like in the middle of the film where of course Al spends all of her money to go to the mall to go buy Glenn with this rocket. A symbol of light and love. And the little parachute comes down so you can catch the rocket to use it again. Well, these rockets are really light, so there's no way in hell this thing would go through this thing's chest. I'm just, again, suspend disbelief because we're having fun with this movie, but here we are.
Here we are, man, yeah. Made out of 4 toilet tubes.
Man.
Oh, man.
A lot of PVC piping in that. They had fun with it, though, so I gotta get the activity, the boring activity that him and his sister had together. I gotta give it some love.
We got into some detail there, man. So... Yeah, so this rocket goes in, and it works, and then the monster, he sort of changes a bit of colour, doesn't he? It's sort of like, it doesn't really blow up, does he? It sort of disappears into like a sort of blue glowing apparition or something like that. And then that's it, he goes back into his hole. Everything goes back to normal. Terry and Al come back, don't they? And the film kind of ends, doesn't it, with them sat outside on the porch and they go, well, we've got to try and explain this all to mum and dad when they get home after the weekend,
Yeah. For those who are parents now, and, let me explain the 1987 version of parenting. If I destroyed my house to an extent that they destroyed their house, even put a scratch on the wall, I would get my ass kicked
Yeah.
by my coming home parents. They're like, well, we're best friends, and what's going to happen next? Mom and Dad ain't going to say a word. BS. I want to see the aftermath. I want to see the bloodbath of Glenn when he tries to explain the giant hole in the floor. You know.
Yeah.
Well, Mom, we had this magnetic thing, and we read off the words, and you did what? You know, and that'll be it, man. You know.
Set off this flimsy rocket. That's okay. That's all right, Glenn.
Sacrilege. They'll be going to church for real after that, man. You get some God in them or something, some deities. And
Do you guys want some jelly and ice cream now? That's okay. We'll sort it out.
oh, good luck explaining to the insurance company too, man. Holy crow, that'd be really bad news. And just, I mean, this is worse than Harry and the Hendersons. Like, do you got Sasquatch insurance? You know, okay, not really. You know?
Just tick that box.
Sasquatch covered. Good job. Thank you. You know,
old gods covered.
Old gods covered, man.
Have you got?
That's an extra premium that would cost you a lot of money. I think some old gods coverage.
And there you go. Have you got a fire extinguisher? Have you got a rocket just in case an old god turns up in your house so you can destroy it?
Well, what is your symbol of light and love, sir? Is it good enough for us to say yes to this insurance policy? Yeah. See, these are fun conversations. I'm sorry for going off on weird tangents, but these are the important questions when you want to buy a home. Is it covered for old god insurance?
Yeah, well, this is it. I think, Gary, this is where we've come to with this film, isn't it? Old god insurance for your house.
And if you've seen the second film, Glenn doesn't show up again, but his effed up house does. So he didn't stay around too long. It's just Terry causing trouble after that point. Which is
a pretty good. It's a fairly decent sequel as well, isn't it? I think it came.
Oh, it's fun.
1990. I think it's doing okay. I think it's. I mean, The Gate has become cult status now. It's become a cult movie, isn't it, with horror fans? And
I think it's been pretty big for a long time. It's not one of those ones like, wow, this forgotten movie has been released on Blu-ray. I think this is a film. I mean, you got the request for it. If you mention The Gate to any horror fan, they're gonna know just what you're talking about. It's not like one of them hidden, super hidden gems that nobody ever saw. Everybody saw this cover art in the video store back in the day. Yeah. It was there. It was just there in your face.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff, man. And it deserves all the credit it gets because it's a fun movie. And like I say, if you haven't seen it, guys, go check it out. If you have seen it, hope you're a fan like me and Gary, man, because we absolutely adore this film. And I know we're making fun of it, but that's what it's all about, man. That's the 80s for you. Just have a whole ton of fun. Just sit back, get your popcorn out. Certainly one of those films I'd recommend to watch about 11 o'clock at night, when it's dark. And yeah, it's just a fun movie. Does everything you want it to do, man. So, there you go.
If you're gonna read some stuff off a page randomly, don't forget that R.J. McCready Old Gods insurance, man. You need that in your life, man. He'll hook you up, man.
Yeah. Oh man. Now, thanks, Gary. Thanks for coming on to the show today, mate. It's been good having you here talking about these old movies.
It was fun, man. It was a good time, and I'm glad I could be here to you get the humor going on in this movie. There's a lot of funny stuff in here, and
So you're going to be coming back, Gary, for another show, mate. Which is Remo Williams. I've never actually heard of that film up until now, mate, until you mentioned it.
Well, when you think of action stars, you think of Fred Ward, okay? That's all I'll say about that one. And it's fun. It's got that going for it. It's fun.
Yeah. I must admit, he's kind of like that guy that kind of gets a bit forgotten about, but he's in a lot of films, isn't he? Like
oh yeah,
Southern Comfort, Tremors. He's a good leading man, and he's a good guy. Yeah, and we've also got Jake Speed as well. You mentioned Jake Speed. You want to talk about that one as well?
It's like it's in the same. It's like a Marvel universe before there was ever a Marvel universe, because Jake Speed is in the same universe as good old Remo Williams. So it's not a sequel per se, but it's in the same universe, which is kind of a spiritual sequel, if you will.
Yeah, I love all those films. I love the action adventure films. They're great. I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, as you know. So this type of movie, any day of the week, mate, I'm all over it. can't get enough of it. So I'm look forward to talking to you about those films. So yeah, cheers, Gary. Thanks for that, mate. Like I say, thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you want to add, mate? Before we close up?
Not a ton. Just come listen to the show and come support Legion. And I'm gonna have the charity auction within the next couple months range. I'm gonna say the end of the summer is a safe bet. So if you guys like memorabilia and you guys want to bid on something for the Humane Society locally around here, it's a no-kill shelter. Fleas and Flicks charity auction. I have a great cast-signed Night of the Creeps poster that I've been boasting and flaunting, and Richard Dreyfuss figure signed by himself, and he wore my sweaty hat at a convention because he insisted on it, and
wow,
it was a funny moment.
Man, did you say Richard Dreyfuss?
Richard Dreyfuss, yes, Jaws Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh man, I'd love to meet him. There's a lot of people I know probably listening to this would love to meet Richard Dreyfuss, man.
He was very funny, very funny.
Yeah, no, it's great. Because I know you've met a lot of actors, haven't you, Gary? I know I've looked on your page, mate. There's always, I know this year's probably been a bit awkward, isn't it, to try and meet people, obviously. But
last one I went to was in March, I believe. So it's been nothing since then. So it's not much of a dry spell for me because I really don't go to ones until like this August. I have a couple this August if they happen, and but a lot of folks go all year round. My friend Troy used to go. I think you think I've met people. My friend Troy has met everybody, but he unfortunately passed away of cancer like 6 years ago. Yeah, it was really unfortunate, and but he met everybody. It was gross how many people he met.
Man, I'm envious, man. Like I say, some of the people that you've met is great. I was very fortunate enough to meet John Carpenter a couple of years ago. That was a highlight for me. I don't.
Cool. He's always a good time, Carpenter.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's grumpy, but that's okay. You know.
I can forgive him. He's the outlaw of Hollywood. It's fine. He's cool, so I can forgive that. But no, it's great to see him. But the other thing, Gary, I mentioned this before, but there's some listeners on here probably quite interested in this. I know you've interviewed Tom Holland, haven't you?
Tom Holland was an interview that we did probably like 3 or 4 years ago by now, but it's still on the Legion feed. Look for what's the title of it? Something like Dreams and Hitch, because we talk about Psycho 2 quite a bit, and we get into, I think we get about as far as Fright Night in his career. But I love to get him back on the show, and not necessarily talk about the rest of his career. I'd love to piece that in, but you know, I've had this idea to get some people on the show, some celebrities on the show. I've contacted Dee Wallace and a couple of people, and do like 10 questions to like 10 random questions with these celebrities. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Sounds like sounds like brilliant fun there, Gary, mate. Yeah, I was impressed.
Again, I make no promises until it's recorded and I have it in the can. So
having Tom Holland on your show is great, though, mate, because there's a lot of Tom Holland fans on here.
The only reason why I got that is because I met him at a convention.
Yeah.
And I expressed my love for Cloak and Dagger, which he wrote. If you ever seen Cloak and Dagger,
right?
Henry Thomas, Dabney Coleman. It's a very if your listeners have already seen it before, basically it's a kid who's into like role playing games, like dice rolling games, and his hero was played by Dabney Coleman, who's Jack Flack, and he gets into a murder plot by accident, and Jack Flack is with him the whole time, and it's a good film. And I expressed my love for it, and he said, "Let's do this." And I said, "Okay," you know.
Oh wow! So because you recognise some of his work that doesn't usually get mentioned, that's good.
Oh yeah,
that was good, man. Yeah, so there you go, guys. If you please go and check out Cinema Beef podcast and 2 Drink Minimum, and go and have a look at that interview with Gary interviewing Tom Holland. So because I know there's a lot of fans on here, so. Yeah, thanks, Gary. Like I say, mate, I look forward to getting you back on the show. It's almost like the Gary Hill trilogy, starting with the game.
It'd be a lot of fun, see, you know. And you're supposed to come on my show eventually, whenever. The scheduling's all off right now, but we're gonna make this happen. Where you and Ricky are supposed to come on and do Raiders of the Lost Ark, the OG Indiana Jones. And a Indiana Jones ripoff. I think it's Hunters of the Golden Cobra with I forget now. It's is it David Warbeck? Isn't that movie? I think it is. But
Yeah, it's
we're gonna make it happen. It's gonna get cheesy, y'all. So I'm happy for you.
It's
Give my really bad Sala impression because Sala's got kids, y'all. He's got kids.
Well, I look forward to
Bad
doing that
dates.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I look forward to doing that one, Gary. So yeah, thanks, man. It's all been good. So hope you enjoyed the show, guys. I'm going to close the show now. I've got some admin, so I'm a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network, so please go and check out all the other good shows on there. I will play a promo at the end of this. You can find Bitesize Cinema on iTunes, YouTube and Spotify and several other players on the internet if you type in Bitesize Cinema Podcast Legion. And I've also got a Facebook page, so post anything on there. And there you go, guys. So, as I say, keep it bite-size, keep it safe. And one other thing, Dan Nichols, hope you enjoyed the show, mate. Little shout out to you there because you requested this show, so I hope you enjoyed that. So,
if you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Helming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Go Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick 6 Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, 2 Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.